All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Hayes Hard Drive. I want to welcome to the show Rench and R-Son, the voice of reason from the Emmy Award-nominated group Gangstagrass. How you doing, guys?
Hello. How are you?
We are so good. We're so good.
I am doing great. Thank you guys so much for being on the show. It is an absolute pleasure to have what I consider a pioneer musical group on the show. And if you don't know much about the show, that's kind of what we're all about, bringing music to the people that maybe they're not as familiar with that should be on popular radio. And we want to really bring that out. So I'm so glad that you guys are here.
Well, thank you very much for having us.
Absolutely. So where did this idea of merging bluegrass and hip-hop originate?
Well, it's not so much an idea as an impulse with me. This is Rench. I'm officially called the mastermind behind the band. And my influences are country music and hip-hop. That's a lot of what I was listening to growing up, having a dad from Oklahoma that played a lot of honky-tonk. And then growing up in the 80s when hip-hop just took over, and that's what all my friends were listening to in third grade. And as I became a producer, that's just really the sound that started coming out.
That's awesome. And I know that originally all of this kind of came about with something that you produced. Rench presents Gangstagrass. Tell me a little bit about all of that and the production, how that happened, how it got out to the public.
Uh-huh. Well, I was doing solo stuff as Rench, making honky-tonk music and putting beats and scratching and rappers with it. But I was listening to a lot of bluegrass too, and I just thought it sounded like it was so ripe to be used for mashing up with some beats and some MCs. So I did it in the studio at first, sort of as a proof of concept. I just went in and cleared out my time and spent a month just having fun mashing up some bluegrass records and working with some MCs that I'd recorded in my studio, and put that up for a free download, and that's what really took off.
And from what I can understand, it really blew up, and it blew up very quickly.
Mm-hmm.
So
it got blogged about a lot and started getting a lot of downloads, crashing the website from all the downloads and all that.
It's wonderful in this day and time how the social media as well as internet, the World Wide Web can allow for groups like yourself to be out there for people to listen to, and it really blows you up. That's a great, wonderful thing about this day and age in comparison to the 60s or 70s where people didn't have that opportunity. So for both of you, R-Son, who are your musical influences?
So I'm a true school hip hop guy. As far as I'm concerned, Black Thought from the Roots is the best to ever do it. The way he puts words together and phrasing and stuff like that. So him and KRS-One, Chuck D from Public Enemy, De La Soul, Tribe Called Quest. That's the era I'm from. And it's just a couple of guys that are out right now. A guy named Fonte from North Carolina, was in a group called Little Brother from down there. He's got a group right now called Foreign Exchange. Just cats from all over that, from a standpoint of emceeing, are very like the way they think and the way they put phrases together and the way their vocabulary is elevated on a level that you have to give a lot of their stuff multiple listens to really get the whole thing. And that's where I'm at. That's the world I'm at. Plus, I'm lucky enough to work with a guy, Dolio the Sleuth, the other MC from Gangstagrass. Is just an amazing writer. So just listening to him makes me want to write better.
And Rench, what about you? I know you have a very eclectic background. What are your musical influences?
Yeah, well, a lot of mine are kind of on the honky-tonk side, like George Jones or Johnny Cash, Willie Nelson, the outlaw country stuff, and also Graham Parsons, the way that he mixed up country music with rock music in a way that was kind of pioneering. And then on the other hand, I grew up with Run DMC and the Beastie Boys and all that stuff, and following hip hop, the stuff that I think is really creative and does new things with the form, like Outkast and the stuff produced by Dan the Automator, the Cool Keith stuff, all that kind of thing.
Now, for you guys, and this is an unusual question, do you think that there are similarities in hip-hop as well as bluegrass? I'm talking more lyrically. Do you think that there are some similarities in how people write and in their thought process in writing bluegrass music in terms of the lyrics and hip-hop?
R-Son, you're the lyricist. Let us know.
I think there are a lot more than people might really realize. When you're talking about, and Rench put me on a lot of the stuff that exists in bluegrass, a lot of the classic murder ballads, and but beyond that, there's a lot of songs about heartbreak and hard times and that kind of thing, and struggle that exists in bluegrass that have existed for a very long time. That also exist in a lot of hip hop music. It's not all about just partying and pretty girls and money. There's a lot of very deep, insightful stuff about people's lives and what's going on in the world. And that's existed in bluegrass for quite some time. So when you bring the two together, it's really it's not as hard as people might think. Obviously you have to have the talent to do it, but it's not, you really don't have to reach to get to that commonality, to get to common places for people to understand what you're talking about.
And I think that was the point that I wanted to make, that in origin, lyrically, you have people writing about hard times, you have people writing about life and what they do, and you see that come out in hip hop, you see that come out in bluegrass as well. And I think the mixture of the two, just absolutely wonderful. I think you guys have done something that most people do themselves. We just do it separately, especially here in North Carolina. On our playlist, we'll have a George Jones. The next thing you know, we're listening to Tupac in the next song. So we do this, we just have not mixed it together. We love both sounds, but we don't mix them together, and you guys have so graciously done that for us. So talk about this process of writing, Rench also producing this and putting these two together. How do you do that?
Well, for me, it's just kind of a vision thing. Like I can just feel how they should be able to fit together. And so I just kind of try to provide a framework of understanding the overlap of where the grooves which kind of bluegrass grooves are going to work more on a hip hop beat and that kind of thing. And then the real foundation of the formula for Gangstagrass is just having actual real talented bluegrass pickers and actual real talented MCs. It's one of those things where it's the quality of the ingredients that makes the meal. So when I get these guys together in the right formation, and I can let them go to it and do their thing. And since bluegrass and hip hop both have very strong improvisational elements, they understand how to jam, and they understand how to throw things back and forth and be spontaneous with it. So it really doesn't take a lot of trying to structure things out ahead of time. It's more about just providing that basis for them to come together, and then they take it from there.
R-Son, what do you think about the writing process?
What makes it a lot of fun, because there is so much improvisation involved, that we can I can start a verse and go right to our banjo player Dan while he's listening, and he's right there ready for me to drop the verse, and he'll get down on a banjo solo. And with Dolio and I, we've done some stuff where we go back and forth on verses. So we're, just kind of building off of that and making it a lot easier. It is a lot easier because of the nature of the two forms, because they are so very improvisational. We can just kind of bounce off of each other, ideas and stuff mid-song, in some cases, and just kind of play with it. Like on stage, we do a lot. There's a lot of improvisation and a lot of calling each other out and telling each other what to do and that sort of thing. So when we're so we're in the studio, it's, you don't have to do that on the fly like you're doing it on stage. So it's really easy. We just came up with a hook for a new song the other day, just because Dolio was like, this sounds like blah, blah, blah. And so we're in the process of building that and putting together a song just based off of a feeling that he had and the song that was getting played. It was like, all right, let's do this. Let's put something together based off of that.
Yeah, the banjo player just got the fiddle player to start playing an old-timey fiddle tune, and they were jamming on that on one side of the room. And the next thing I know, the MCs come over, and they're breaking down this whole song idea based on what they're going to put on top of it.
I think that for people who have not had the opportunity to listen to the group, not only are there some very, very talented banjo, guitar, fiddle, all of the bluegrass components, very talented musicians, but also R-Son, you and Dolio both are absolutely phenomenal lyricists. It is an absolute pleasure to listen to your music.
He keeps me on my toes. Writing with Dolio is a chore that I enjoy because he's so very, very good. And so he keeps me working. He keeps me working. He's really, really dope. And I've never been one to write a lazy verse. I don't want it to be the easiest thing in the world. I tell people all the time, as much fun as I have writing rhymes, if you're really good at it, it's not an easy thing. Like it flows well, and when you're really in it, the flow is important, but it's not easy. And so I never want people to think that anybody can do it, because it's not something that everybody can do. And I'm lucky enough to be blessed with working with cats that keep me on my toes, and Dolio keeps me on my toes, and Rench's beats keep me on my toes, and so we just want to be able to make sure that people, when they're hearing it, they're hearing the best of what we're all capable of.
So before we go to our first break, and we are going to come back, we have some more stuff to talk about with Rench and R-Son. I found a quote, and I want you guys to elaborate on this quote for our audience. The quote says, "A radical desegregation of roots music at a fundamental level." Elaborate on that quote.
Yeah. R-Son?
I think it's just, what we were talking about, the idea that because these are both musics very much of the people. Hip hop started out with just cats on their stoop, and they were like, all right, we don't have a whole lot to make music, but we love music. What are we going to do? And what are we going to talk about? And how are we going to put this together? And at the same time, even earlier, a lot of the same things were happening in the creation of bluegrass music. It was just people together, like, all right, what are we going to do? How are we going to make this work? What do we have? And so when you realize that it's just that they both began on these very fundamental folky levels, just the people kind of hanging out, then you realize that the things that they were doing in the midst of that hanging out, working 12 hours a day just to pay their bills or whatever, and, maybe somebody is selling weed or somebody else is selling moonshine. All of that stuff is it's all very relatable. So when you break it down geographically and racially, when that's all gone, it's just a bunch of cats doing the same thing. So the ideas are similar and the feelings are similar. So when you get rid of all of that and you really just get into, what a person was thinking at the time that they had to go and do this, or what a person was thinking at the time when it was, when they were getting involved in something, you realize how similar their lives really are. And that breaks down all of that stuff.
And ladies and gentlemen, I would like to go ahead and say R-Son and Rench, I think we might want to maybe elect you guys for some sort of political, because basically this, in my opinion, this is the type of stuff, the type of conversation that we all should be having, because this music right here is breaking down barriers. It's breaking down walls between two different cultures, and you guys are bringing them together. So, I mean, I think that is, R-Son, what you just said, man, that is absolutely something that needs to be printed out and put somewhere for people to read. That was phenomenal.
For sure. And we would love to ask everybody to vote for us to be senators of the funk.
Absolutely. I think that's a good idea.
I have a particular historical perspective on it. Doing this, a lot of things come to my attention, and you become aware of these great contradictions of America. On the one hand, how we are a country that has had all of these different cultures come to it and start mixing together and produce all these wonderful new combinations. And there's always been people cross-collaborating and creating this new stuff that's based on coming together. And at the same time, you have these powerful forces that have been segregating them. So a lot of people don't know that the banjo was an African instrument that came over with the slaves and then was appropriated. But those kind of things get lost in the shuffle, because if you go back far enough, the hillbillies and the freed slaves were playing the same things together. And what happened was, when the record industry started in the 1910s, 1920s, they decided they had to market things separately. And sometimes it was even the same band. They put out one record under one name and market it as hillbilly music, and then changed the name of the band and put out the same record as a race music, they called it. And from that point on, we've had an industry that's grown based on separate charts, separate magazines, separate stations, separate everything, that gives us this idea somehow that we have this separate white and black music, when the truth underneath is that it all really came from a lot of collaboration going on. And the musicians have always been trying to do that. And it's just been something that's kind of been artificially imposed upon the way that we see our music.
You know, ladies and gentlemen, if you have missed the first part of our show, we are here talking with Rench and R-Son, the voice of reason from the Emmy Award nominated group Gangstagrass. We are going to go to their American Music album from 2015, and I want you to take a peek at a really wonderful song, in my opinion. The name of this song is called You Can Never Go Home Again. Stay right here. We're going to play that song, and we'll be back with R-Son and Rench, and we're going to finish up our interview with them. Thank you guys for listening to Hayes Hard Drive, and it is You Can Never Go Home Again by Gangstagrass.
I remember 20 years ago, I was sitting in that courtroom. My charges I could not defend. Last thing the judge said to me as he handed down my sentence: you can never go home again. Never go home, never go home. You can never go home again.
And I agree with everything that the judge said. If you come back around, I'm going out like Judge Dredd. What was in your head when you made those choices? I can only hope that you were plagued by voices. Then you made the decision not to listen to the one that was on your side, and you started on your slide. When you arrived back at home, mama was broken down to the bone, cause you was gone so long. Once you got killed in the game you got caught up in, she loved having you back and you brought her nothing. Gave you a second chance strictly for her sake. Warned you if you got caught in some mess that her heart will break, and I'd take that pain out on your behind. It seemed like you listened for a little bit of time. Just when I thought you had switched what you're about, mama's bawling cause the DTs had ripped you out the house.
When you've done your time and you come back out that doorway, you will not find a loved one or a friend. You may return to the place where the people used to know you, but you can never go home
face, these eyes are seen with horror by the strongest. When and left the home I haven't been to in the longest. Led a life by the sword, called to fall upon it. The kites flew, there was nobody left to correspond with. Familiar faces either passed on or flipped, so there's not much left for me to do except dip. Had so many years stolen off the lies of a snitch, and it was either do a bid or end up lying in a ditch. Now left to wander across the lands is a mystery. Every new town, reinvent a new history. Turn my back on my past deeds just to get to see another day. Reframe my identity to get to sleep at night. Man, I need about a fifth at least. The dirty deeds that I did just to get to eat. Melancholy and emptiness, the unseen consequence of the conditions of release.
We found a man the other day hanging from the ceiling. His sentence was almost at an end, and there on his bed was a note so sad and simple: you can never go home again. Never go home, never go home. You can never go home again. Never go home, never go home. You can never go home again.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are back with Rench R-Son, the voice of reason from the Emmy Award nominated group Gangstagrass. Thank you guys so much for being here with us. If you missed the very first part of our show, you can go back and listen to that. We'll have that up for you. But we talked a whole lot about good music. We talked about the origins of Gangstagrass, as well as recording and the merging of bluegrass and hip-hop. And guys, I would be remiss if I did not mention one thing about your group. You guys nominated for an Emmy for the title theme song for the show Justified. Talk a little bit about when FX came to you with this idea of, hey, look, we want you to do this theme song for our show Justified.
Yeah, it actually started with people looking for some music for a commercial for the show from the promotions department. And I got a call out of the blue from some people saying, we're looking for the guy that made Gangstagrass. We want to license one of these tracks for a commercial for this new show coming out. And I said, well, cool, let's do that. So we worked it out. And when the producers of the show saw the commercial they were working on, they said, that's what we need for the theme song. So I got another call out of the blue saying, we want to actually make a new song like that can work for the theme song for the show. So I had a strong direction to go in based on the fact that they had liked the song that we had licensed to them, which was off of that original proof of concept mashup I did. It was a song called On the Run. And so I brought some guys into the studio and did a new song along those lines to be for the show. And hadn't really had the chance to see the show because they were still making it. So I just crossed my fingers that it was going to be a good show, and it turns out it was.
So I want to let you know that the show was absolutely phenomenal. 6 seasons, and I watched every episode of all 6 seasons. And you know, on Amazon, where you can go and skip the very first part of the show, never once did I do that. Most every show that I do, I skip it because I enjoyed the song so much. That is an absolute truth, not because I'm talking to you. But how did it feel to be nominated for an Emmy?
Well, that was quite something because I'd done this song and licensed it for a TV show, but you never think, oh, this is going to lead to an Emmy nomination. So it was just great to be able to call the rapper that was on that track and say, hey, you and I are now nominated for an Emmy. And the real fun was going out to the red carpet, and I show up in in a Western suit with rhinestones and stuff, and he's got on the hip hop gear, and we're walking down the red carpet together. Everybody's heads just about snapped off trying to do a double take.
That is, I think that has to be, going from making something and putting it out for a free download, and then a few years later, you have the opportunity to be nominated for an Emmy. That just, to me, is an absolute just, hey, we started here, had no idea where this was going, and finally, your hard work was, no pun intended, justified. So you guys have a new album that will be coming out very soon. I am very excited about that. Give us some details about when the new album will be coming out, and also what can we expect from the new Gangstagrass album?
Man, you better get ready, because this album on February 15th is capturing our live shows, which are just a whole other ball of wax from studio recording, and we're finally getting the chance to share that with a lot of people that can't make it to the shows. Just the dynamics of having us on stage, being able to interact and be spontaneous together, and the way that we've evolved a lot of these performances. So we're finally capturing that, putting it out in a live album that comes out on February 15th.
It's going to be live stuff that you guys have done from various different venues. Will it be just one venue?
No, it's from all over the country.
Yeah, I think it's about 6 different venues that we ended up with really good recordings from. So it's a mix from those, a couple songs each.
Speaking of touring, you guys have been all around the world. You've been in the UK. February the 23rd, you guys are going to be in New York City with a group from North Carolina, Jive Mother Mary. And I see that you guys are filling in your tour dates. I have a little bit of insider from management that you guys may be making an appearance here in North Carolina as well. Tell me a little bit about what, obviously we're going to hear some of this stuff from the live album, but what can people experience from a Gangstagrass concert?
Mm-hmm. I think the best part about it is if you heard any of the albums, and the songs off of the albums, a lot of it is going to be radically different. There's going to be new verses. There might be even verses different from if you've seen us live before. I do a lot of what I do on stage. I'm freestyling. I'm going right off the top of the head, just about stuff that's going on, stuff that's in the room, whatever. And so it's enough to, if you've ever experienced it, it's always going to be a little bit different. There's actually a couple songs on the live album from North Carolina. We did a couple shows at the Motorco in Durham.
Okay.
So they made it to the album. So if you check out the live album, I guarantee there's going to be at least one North Carolina reference for you. And when we get there, we definitely rep wherever we happen to be. So yeah, just keep your eyes and ears open for that.
Speaking of albums, I know that I can see that there are 4 albums that you guys have out, plus you have 3 albums that are instrumental versions. Is that correct?
Mm-hmm. Well, I try to put up the instrumental version of most of the albums that we put out, because there are people out there that enjoy that and want to hear what's going on underneath there. So just digitally, I put that up as part of the catalog, because I might as well make it available to people that might want to hear it.
As we wrap up everything, this is one question that has been resonating as I knew I was going to have the opportunity to talk with both of you. Once again, we are here with R-Son, the voice of reason, and Rench from the group Gangstagrass. I want to ask you both individually, in your industries, in terms of the hip-hop industry as well as the bluegrass industry, how is Gangstagrass received in both?
Well, from a hip hop standpoint, it's a little bit weird because a lot of the fans are very much, this is what I like, and so if I haven't heard a lot of it, I may not ride with it. But the very cool part is a lot of the artists. A lot of different cats that I've encountered, guys I've done work with here in Philly, people all over the world that we've encountered. When they hear it, they're like, all right, you know what? The music is dope. The beats are dope. These guys on the mic are dope. That's all I need. And so, we've gotten a very, very good response from all the hip hop cats that I've encountered that are, very much the idea is, dope beats, dope rhymes. That's all I need. And that's what we're giving them. It's a little bit harder to get a foot inside a lot of that industry door because people don't know what to expect. But when they hear it, they're like, oh wow, this is not what I thought it was going to be, but it is very, very. It's what I require in my hip hop music and my music in general. The music's dope, the lyrics are dope. That's all I need.
Now, Rench, what about in the bluegrass world? How is this received?
We see kind of the equivalent that most people, they're looking for quality. So if that's what they hear, they're going to be into it. And the audiences respond really well. 99% of the people out there, they are actually already into bluegrass and hip hop and lots of other stuff. They're just looking for quality from whatever genre. We tend to underestimate how many people are out there with eclectic tastes and all this stuff mixing together on their playlist already. So a lot of people are ready for that. There's just those few handful of purists that are going to freak out on us, which is always just amusing to see, but it's not something that's getting in our way at all because, there's such a vast array of people out there that are really responding positively when we play at bluegrass festivals or any kind of festival. We really kill it, and people are really welcoming to hear something that's got quality. So that's what we're offering.
I've often said on the show, because I play all genres, all eras of music, and there is no rhyme nor reason to what I'm playing. I just want to play all varieties of music, and there are quotes out there by producers, by musicians, and basically the gist of the quote is, and it's made in different ways, that there are just two different types of music. There's good music, and then there's bad music. And that's basically what both of you have just said, and it's good to hear that the industries are kind of opening up their minds a little bit to, some change, to something that's a little bit different, and because the music is so good. So, guys, I want to thank you so much for coming onto the show, telling us about the new stuff that's coming out, as well as just talking with us about what Gangstagrass is, how it originated, and, we look forward to seeing you guys here in North Carolina very soon.
Well, like I said, keep your eyes and ears open. We will be there.
Absolutely. Yep. Ladies and gentlemen.
We will definitely be coming back to Durham and Motorco in the spring, and maybe make it to a couple other places there as well.
Ladies and gentlemen, once again, we've been talking with Rench and R-Son, the voice of reason, from the Emmy Award-nominated group Gangstagrass. And ladies and gentlemen, it is time for us to play the main title theme from the show Justified. It is the Emmy Award-nominated song from Gangstagrass. It is Long Hard Times to Come, right here on Hayes Hard Drive.
On this lonely road, trying to make it home, doing it by my lonesome, pissed off who wants some. I'm fighting for my soul, God, get at you, boy. You try to go, God, fall back, I go hard. On this lonely road, trying to make it home, doing it by my lonesome, pissed off who wants some.
I see them long times to come.
My life is ill, son, prepared to kill, son. Paradox of pain, baby, is real, son. Lonely traveler, ain't trying to bow you up, but if you're feeling tough, dog, I walk up all challenges. Ain't got no family, you see this one of me, might lose your post, standing 2 feet in front of me. I'm pissed at the world, but I ain't looking for trouble. I might crack a grin, I ain't looking to hug you. Think about it, nobody wants to die. There's rule to this game, son, I'm justified. I'm ready to go, partner, hey, I'm on the run. The devil's hugging on my boots, that's why I own a gun. This journey's too long, I'm looking for some answers. So much time stressing, I forget the questions. I fear no man, you don't want no problems, B. Eyes in the back of my head, you better not follow me. On this lonely road, trying to make it home, doing it by my lonesome, pissed off who wants some. I'm fighting for my soul, God, get at you, boy. You try to go, God, fall back, I go hard. On this lonely pissed off, who won't son.
I see them long times to come.
Yo, you probably think I'm crazy or got some loose screws, but that's alright though. I'ma do me, you do you. So how you judging me? I'm just trying to survive, and if the time comes, I ain't trying to die. I'm just trying to fly and get a little love. Find me a down piece and get a little hug. Hook the car up, hit the bar up, clean the stars up. Hey yo, the stars up. Hey, this is the life of an outlaw. We ain't promised tomorrow, I'm living now, dog. I'm walking through life, but yo, my feet hurt. All my blessings are fair, man, I rest when I'm dead. Look through my eyes and see the real world. Take a walk with me, have a talk with me. Where we end up, God only knows. Strap the noose on tight, you might be alright. On this lonely road, trying to make it home. Doing it by my lonesome, pissed off, who wants some? I'm fighting for my soul, God get at you, boy. You try to go, God fall back, I go hard. On this lonely road, trying to make it home. Doing it by my lonesome, pissed off, who wants some?
I see them long times to come.
On this lonely road, trying to make it home. Doing it by my lonesome, pissed off, who wants some?